So we've got a full menu. We actually moved one to lighten the menu a little bit. But it's been a while since we've done a work session, so we want to work through a multitude of topics tonight. Mr. Prather is here to talk about department maintenance and facilities. Ms. Slaughter will share with you guys an update for transition to workforce and innovation, formerly known as college career readiness. Mr. Rucker and Mr. Prather are going to talk about some construction project updates. Mr. Rucker will go through our preliminary staffing allocations for next school year. I will give the board an update on where our calendar sits today. Knock on wood, both hands, but 2 times. And then just talk a little bit about a student attendance policy. I know that the board is getting some questions about that, so I just wanted to have a conversation around those things. So, Mr. Rucker, without further ado, if you'll start with C, construction project updates.
All right. We have this set of documents. We're sitting on top of the folder. We got ready to start. I'm going to try to get the project we have moving right now for about a 30,000 foot level. I've been hugely specific about them, but I want to keep you all on top of where we are moving through this process. So at the very top of that package we have there is the building next door, which we are calling the Family Empowerment Center. That is the old cafeteria from Taylorville Elementary School we are currently working through, and are working with both Herbert Carter Barnhart and Kirksville McGee to get numbers to bring you a firm proposal to a change order and that on the early learning center project to get that building operational for the next school year. If you take a look at that, you can kind of see the vision that we have laid out for this particular building. The 1994 edition at the very top of your page that will boot you out at the building.
Mm-hmm.
It's A1 A1.1. Third one down. Yep. And then we're A1.1. And we're a corner. We have divided that space into 5 office areas that will house technology as well as our student data infrastructure of our student data personnel here. We have the large meeting room that was the old cafeteria space you're probably familiar with. The largest changes come in the kitchen area, where you see a headquarters for our Family Resource Youth Service Center and our MTG program. You'll recall we received that grant over the summer, and our new MTG coordinator has been hired and is in place to work with our students who have been identified as homeless or struggling in the district. There we also have new restrooms to serve that facility. And then we have our laundry room and our shower facility that will be used by the MTG program, Family Resource and Service Center service those students who still bring some laundry and are transient and don't really necessarily have a great place to take a shower and get ready. We have students that still bring clothes into high school that do those occasionally. So we want them to have a space that is comfortable, inviting, but not necessarily pointing a big spotlight on them right there in front of all of their friends and their colleagues as they go through that area. In the lower right-hand corner there was the old dry goods room. We are currently in discussions with Harlan Valley Medical for them to come in and provide school-based medical services, both behavioral and physical health services here in the district. And that would be a thing for them to set up their clinic moving forward, should we be able to solidify that contract with them and be able to offer those services here on campus for all our students at no cost moving forward. You can see on the second page there that we have done some things to the outside of the building there to try to connect it with the early learning center. You can see that the new sports and portico that is there will be matching what is over at ELC currently to give this building more of a campus feel and bring the buildings in this campus into a similar style with one another. We will also be moving forward with taking all of this building, the 1994 wing, and then the food house that's over there in that 94 construction. We're all kind of value engineered, and none of the insulation was ever put into any of those buildings. So the metal planking that goes around that building on the back side there will provide a 6-inch insulation barrier, so that as we get our HVAC systems up and going over there, we're not just pouring our money right back out into the winter air. That will also happen in this building. You come here in the early morning, just as you get here about 7 o'clock in the morning, a little chilly before everything catches back up and we get some sunshine on the building. So we'll be working forward with those. And then looking at the third page, you'll see that we are going to be looking at parking areas in front of the Family Empowerment Center to bring it up to code and get handicap accessible parking to the front of that building so that as we start start to host more events there, that will be available to the general public as we move forward. Along with it, we'll do a blank page. The next one is the renovation to this facility and the parking lot that's adjacent next door, and the building that's the house that's there to service our diverse services headquarters. You'll see that we have kind of worked through this parking lot a couple of different ways. We feel like we can get 29 additional parking spaces there. That will allow everybody that works in this building and in the diverse learning center to park on that side of the building, and this will be available then for the expansion. This park can be available for the expansion of our early learning center for additional staff and service providers to come in, and without the cramping this entire place together where it's not usable. If you take a flip to the next page there, you'll see how the roof is kind of going to be reworked on this facility and how we are joining this boardroom with the 1994 expansion back that way with a new reception area that will open onto that parking lot so that as people come in, they won't have to walk all the way to the front anymore. They'll come out of the parking lot straight into the new reception area. That will give us the opportunity to have a security vestibule in this building that's adequate for its needs. It'll give us the opportunity to have that parking lot to service this room as well. We'll have a new vestibule out in the middle there where we can direct people here if they want to come in. Sometimes if you've been to a couple of board meetings, a lot of people go to the front door, they not. A lot of people come to the side door, they not. We will more clearly show everybody how to get in here and how to participate in this process with us. We'll also be renovating these two restrooms right over here to bring them up to an ADA standard to make sure that when we have the public here that we have available restrooms for them, and then we'll be working the mechanical room in this space to open what is currently the mechanical room to an additional office to make sure that we can continue to have a space to grow as we move forward in this building. And here's the one you're probably really interested in. So on this third project, this is the layout for the new gymnasium at Spencer County Elementary School, and then the renovation of what is the current gymnasium into the education memory hub. So by expanding the gym to a full-size gym at Spencer County Elementary School, we'll be able to seat all 800 students in there for programming that goes through. We'll be able to have directly ball there. We'll have a new community site for us to do a great myriad of things. On top of that, we're taking the existing volume of space that's there and renovating the restrooms that are there to add additional restroom spaces, to bring our music classroom into that area, as well as the second resource classroom. And then what I'm kind of most excited about in this is the Ed Hub. And the Ed Hub is going to be a mix of STEM spaces and art spaces together in this one location. It'll have a stage, it'll have storage rooms, it'll have retracting bleachers that can service up to 300 patrons that come in to see band performances, different plays, promotion, all of those things that happen throughout the course of the year. Then we host in that area, and then we can pull those bleachers back, pull our STEM materials back out, and have a multi-function space there so that students can engage in more creative activities in that area. If you flip the page, you'll see where that new gymnasium will sit in relation to the current building and kind of what that profile will look like as we move to get that spot filled in with the new gymnasium.
Just because the page has got 8 models, I see. One of the things we learned after we hired a construction manager is we were thinking for the courtyard infill that we just couldn't justify. And so the courtyard, a huge part of that was still the water mitigation. And so we know that there are water issues there in the courtyard. So it would get the same repairs as the rest of the external. So the interior courtyard should look like the exterior of the building. It should resolve the water problems. There will also be some block replacement done interior walls of the courtyard. So the gym just made a lot more sense. But then we had to do something with
Yes, and then that includes also the entire HVAC and electrical remediation of that area off going through on the electrical portions for upgraded LED fixtures, and then we'll be completely rehauling the HVAC system, putting in a new geothermal well, and replacing all the geothermal equipment inside of that building so that we can have better cost efficiency when we heat and cool that area as well. On the outside of that building, that kind of tan ethos that's all over the building that just kind of sucks water up and holds it, all of that will be taken from all the way down to the original base metal, and a new layer of metal that will match the middle school, and additional insulation will go behind that to help us as we move forward in that project. And then last but certainly not least is the middle school project. You'll see on this first page here where we have the two dotted areas where we'll have the main part of the construction is going through. It's a total refit of the auditorium and theater spaces that are there with new heating, new lighting, new sound equipment to bring that up to a new standard, and then to bring us into, we've got about 60 broken seats that have been removed from the theater at this point. So we're replacing all of those seats with some tougher material than were originally purchased and put in there. It might not be as comfortable, but it should last a lot longer. And then if you go down to the bottom of that, you'll see the expansion of the office space to provide space for our counselors and our school psychologists. That'll work out of that area to service those students moving forward. We'll also be looking at all of the ceramic tile in that building, removing all that ceramic tile and bringing it up with either a VCT solution or a Terrazzo solution in its place. The second page there, for us is the athletic facility. We've done some turning back on that a little bit to make it more cost effective. We've moved the windows around a little bit. We've trimmed back on the HVAC system and taken it from the full HVAC system and eliminated the air conditioning and replaced that with some fans. And looking at some of our solid surfaces on the flooring in the plumbing portion and the heated portion of this facility to make it come in hopefully a little bit easier for us to go forward and a little bit quicker for us to build it and move it together to make sure we serve kids that are at the middle school and all over the
Wait a minute, you said you're taking out the air conditioning?
So originally when we did the project, it was a fully cooled space in that large interior.
Yeah.
So what we did was move the windows and make vented windows in there, and then put in one of those giant fans in the middle that will keep the air moving, so that we can pull that cost, not only the initial cost of the construction, but then the maintenance cost of that, keeping that system up and running moving forward.
And what do you think that'll set temperature-wise?
Usually they stay right around between 75 and 85 degrees.
Okay. Seems a little warm, but how much money are we saving by doing that, do you know?
It was $650.
Oh, was it?
And then the exterior, you see where we moved the windows from the back to the side, so we create the cross breezes there with those vented windows as we move forward. And really the rest of it kind of looks almost exactly the same as you've seen before, with just that one major change. So those are construction projects. We are in the repackaging and repackaging phase of the middle school and elementary school. Right now, we're working very closely with Sherman Carter Barnhart and Alliance to gather additional information. Dr. Foster, Tim, and I meet with them once a week to kind of get progress of where we are. They are comfortable with these DD documents. We go through, start now releasing them to vendors, and Alliance is starting to pull some cost estimates for the project, and they're looking at those to see what would be the most attractive to vendors to be able to bid the project out so that we can get the most participation that we possibly can. If you'll recall, we only had 2 people who showed interest in the project originally, only one of them put in a successful bid. At this point, we have a minimum of 3 bidders on each of the individual packages that Alliance has proposed, and we're hoping to get that closer to 5 to 6 by the time we get this out on the street. They're constantly working the phones. Derek and working those phones with his contacts, making sure that people know the project's getting ready to come out, getting numbers back and forth. So it's been very beneficial project with them moving forward. Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Rucker, a little bit of the tomorrow, when the board has that.
That is the full 200-page set that you have inside of your folder. That meeting document, once you give them the official stamp of approval, then Sherman Carter, Barnhart, and Alliance can begin putting together the bid package. So hopefully tomorrow night, once you've had the opportunity to scan through all 200 pages, you'll see that they are wonderful, that you like all the changes that we've made, have no great questions. And then at that point, when you bless them, they'll go on out to the street, and you will start seeing hard numbers come in for the project, as opposed to people saying, going from being in the ballpark, we're gonna get a lot closer to being off that, for what we're gonna be looking at. I would hope that somewhere around the end of March, early April, we would be in the position to be able to put this out on the street, a formal bid package, or a series of bid packages, so that you can have numbers. I would love you to have numbers by the time April rolls. And then we'll also be considering the change order request for the Family Empowerment Center. The State Department gave us special permission to do a change order for that project, so they have to go through a full bid spectrum with that, given that used to be part of the old Taylor's Elementary School, which still technically falls under the branch of the ELC renovation. And so they were gracious enough to allow us to use the Churchill McGee's low bid to be able to push forward by pricing that out as well. And so they are working right now to put those numbers together. I will in no way, shape, or form promise you that we'll have that for tomorrow, but I do intend you to be able to see that by the 10th of March at that work session, so that you'll be able to have that set of numbers there. And then the board building here in the parking lot, you'll be taking a look at tomorrow night as well to approve those GD documents that will allow us to go to formal bids for those. This project is not near as big, doesn't have many moving parts, so it'll be a lot smoother to get out. And we hope to have it out by the end of March and have numbers back to close to mid-April.
One thing we are waiting on that is, I know many of you probably get asked about bus drivers, and get prepared to ask them, like, they on making the transportation area. Work with on that process. They've already been
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we've had 4 weeks and maybe more, Chester and teams that many buses.
So they would be, as my people have been on site a couple of times with us. They're beginning the initial construction phase. We also just independently with CNR Asphalt out of Lexington. They have their own in-house engineering team as well. We begin the project. Certain part of Barnhart used CNR on a couple of projects over in Shelby County, so they have a working relationship. Pretty solid. So we're hoping as we move forward, we can keep both of those sets of engineers working together. The water remediation is going to be the bulk of the expense in that area. And just making sure that we can get the water off of the top of that hill without flooding our neighbors to the left and the right while we're doing so.
Just record one more topic. We're going to talk about preliminary staffing.
So in your package, you'll see the preliminary staffing allocation. You will remember as we move through in February. So tomorrow night, you'll have a full consideration of them. In February, we take a look at the number of people who are going to hire. So that's how we look at kind of the world as we know it. Last year, you all formalized our staffing allocation worksheet so that we're still staffing at 26 to 1 and the 4th to 12th grade, 24 to 1 in primary program. You'll see those reflected if you look at tomorrow night's agenda. You'll have an individual sheet for each school with section 4 hires, section 5 hires, Dr. Murphy, section 6, and then we'll come back to section 7 once we have a solid budget to see if you guys have the money left over to stay in section 7. So your section 4 folks are those who are required by law. So that is the state minimum, the being able to put through as classroom teachers, every school has to have one principal, every school has to have a librarian, things of that nature. Section 5 are the things that you come over the top and add on. And so those are people like your art teachers, your PE teachers, your elective courses at the high school, your PE courses, things of that nature. And they are driven by that 26 to 1 formula in section 4. And then our three formulas that we utilize for section 5, depending on whether you're elementary, middle, or high, determines the number of staffing that they pull from them. Every school either takes the same or moves up or down one position. And so I updated those numbers, but I went those numbers last week before we put that out to you guys in your packet. And so you'll see that we're going to have some minor fluctuations, but nothing that's a major moving forward. The biggest piece that we'll step through with you tomorrow night, and if you have any questions, we'd love to hear them answer, make sure we give you the correct information, is the change of how we're looking at virtual students. So right now, the virtual students in the district are still housed under their A1 home school, either the middle school or the high school. What we have proposed to do is to pull them out and couch that program at Hillview Academy as a true A5 program. If you will recall, in COVID, the state gave us this grand, wide open waiver to be able to run virtual essentially any way we wanted to. And that waiver sunsets at the end of this school year. And so we have to make a recommendation to you either to go with its own A5 program, which is an alternative education program, or a new designation that the state has come up with, which is an A8 program, which is just a fancy alternative program specifically uses virtual instruction. And so we kicked that idea around probably for a solid month, which one would be the best for us, where do we get the best bang for our buck moving forward. And as we looked at how we could most appropriately use staff and dollars that were coming in, we really all started to lean toward that A5 care model. We had the alternative behavior program and motion support program that is complemented by a virtual program and a home hospital program being under one roof and under one leader who really understands what those projects and how they are different from your traditional A1 program. And being able to have somebody who specializes in that alternative field, leading those programs and making sure that we're meeting the needs of students that are just different needs than what we have back at our home.
Mr. Rucker, we have really staffing projections for the first time going into the school year. Maybe answer questions that if you share before, like how close to our projections could there be landed on the first campus setting?
So on the first day of school, we lost two certified staff members district-wide. And honestly, if you take a look at our track record, a lot of that was due to growth. Once we got to the 10th day, we were still off on those same two. You acted early on one of them that we were able to hire prior to the school year beginning. The second one came down on the back end. And so it's going to be very difficult for us to really narrow down any better than that, given the number of transit students that we have coming in and out from Jefferson and Nelson County right now. If you take a look 2 years ago when we opened school on day 1 versus day 12 was 115 students higher than day 1 because everybody fled those two neighboring counties. And so we have tons of folks that are still moving back and forth. I would expect that your further discussion in the coming months about how we handle our borders and how we handle possible tuition may also heavily impact that. And so as we start to have those conversations, we will start to hone in a little bit deeper on who is here on an out-of-district transfer or out-of-district waiver, and make sure that we're talking with those students and their families to know what's going on and just making sure they understand the intent of the board and how it moves forward, but also making sure that we don't spend money we don't need.
On the virtual school, will it be designed in such a way that it can help the families out there that want to hold school, but still
questions for the next year before you make a decision. But if you look at the data, the number of families who operate is high. And so for us to look at that and to modify these kind of next year will be a change. Let's transition what we have to a different thing and maybe get that up and running and then establish such that. I don't know that we'll always have to that might be better. What grade, what does that look like? Simple things, but yeah, there are some good models in place, and there are some models that I'm skeptical of that. That's probably very
Well, me, that model would, what a lot of homeschool families look for is to make a group so that they can have a social group of the kids or field group and that kind of thing. So this would take the place of that.
I think we also have for us, we have tools right now. I don't think we are a lot of success. But I think, I would equate it to, the building of the academy of the barn. This would be a big, this would not be distracting from that program or adding something to that program. This would be basically one more of a home.
I'm personally, there's there are parents that want that, and want to have more things on it, so they want that. But they really need the money. They need the money, and this gives me a in that sense, wouldn't have to buy a curriculum, they wouldn't have to do anything like that.
Yes. And, it's purely virtual. Where some people still homeschool, still have, books and
Yes.
paper, that's a family choice as well. The other thing that's really nice is it gives any family who opts into our virtual program a full menu of extracurricular and
That's-
after-school
that
things.
was a
That's
biggie,
nice.
too.
So,
Yes.
And one of the things we struggled with, Mike, in developing the original virtual program, how we offer career technology and education knowledge.
Yes.
So if you were at, you and I were at the Devon Pearl event together, we were talking about those. Our intention is to remodel one space of the building academy, be a tax lab, exploration lab, or similar to that, we see at the middle school. And then we have been narrowing down what are the options that we don't currently have in Spencer County High School that we might be able to launch at Italy Academy. Those things that would tailor to the student who really wants that virtual experience. What are CTE courses that they tend to be more interested in as opposed to a traditional high school student? And how do we offer those through that platform as well, but do so effectively? And so as Dr. Foster has talked about, a lot of that is that hands-on experience. So you may have a student who comes in every other Friday, but they spend the first couple of hours going through, taking some assessments, meeting with the teacher, maybe a coaching conversation about what they're going to do with their studies for the next 2 weeks. Then the whole afternoon may be in a tax lab, where they're going through and getting that hands-on experience, whether it's construction experience, whether it's health or business, so that we can give the student, give that student the need where they are, but get them into that space in such a way that they can have access to materials, to lessons, and to the hands-on things that most of our industrial certifications require. And so I'm not going to tell you that when we open next year that we're going to be 100% correct, but we're going to continue to learn from our mistakes, evolve with the program, talk to our students and their parents and meet those needs, and shift and make sure that we are creating a program that can grow with our students and with that experience.
And with our insurance provider, they would be considered students. Liability would not be any more of an issue than it is with any other student.
That's correct.
As far as extracurriculars or any time in the building.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rucker. All right, we'll loop back up to item A. Mr. Prather got his hair did. Tim, did you tell me this year 26 or 27? 27 plus. Been with Spencer County a long time. So guys, last year, Mr. Prather didn't present to us. We had all of our program directors do so, but, you know, maybe quietly, one of the most growing departments we have are the folks that keep our facilities up and running. And man, have they had a couple months here in 2025 so far. So, you know, Tim wanted a chance just to kind of talk through where he's at, the reality he looks at every morning, and, you know, just kind of put some things on your all's radar. So I'm excited to hear from him. So Tim, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening. Everyone says I'm going to do the great results.
You're going to kill it.
Might as well believe it.
Our maintenance team, great group of guys, willing to learn. They do anything I ask them to do, and they've always got my back.
Mhm.
There's 6 of us, counting myself. They do a knockout job.
Tim, how long have you had Sarah? We approved her last fall. Is that right?
She's been with us a little over a year,
Gotcha. And
right at a year.
that's been a huge help to you. I know.
She is, I thought it, I'll be quite honest, I didn't think I needed the help, but after that first week, it's like, oh my gosh, if she leaves, I'm leaving her.
Don't say that.
She's amazing. So, a maintenance overview. Take care of electrical, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, ground, construction, custodial. Look at our electrical, it is involved. Lighting, there's no longer just, looking at the light bulb. And we've got lighting control, circuit boards in the electric, the guys are learning to diagnose and doing the basic job on roofing. We have very few single roofs anymore. New technology, spray foam, PPO, and I learned to do patchwork on it. We've got some that did it in high school. The snow and ice has been brutal.
Yeah.
And it shows the roof leaks that hadn't leaked in since it's been built.
You see a lot of buckets.
We pay them. No, we don't try to put buckets up unless it's a short-term fix.
Yeah.
Funding, that's never changing. HVAC, one of the biggest needs is more training. I've been able to send guys to some different classes, some of them cost us a little money, some of them classes. They didn't come up in the heat and air of the electrical field. But as an environment, that person attitude, I've been able to teach quite a bit to them. And some of them, it's just really involved with it and going against the job. Heating and air, you never dreamt heating and air, a software update, for a heater to run. That's the reality we live in.
Wow.
Ground, right now, our big one is snow and ice, and we are undermanned, overtired, every which way. We've got, I'll look at that a little bit later in the slide. We've got 3 trucks that we plow with, so tailgates off spreaders. We do a fine job on small stuff, but construction, contractors do a lot of that. We've got some over at Delta that we'll pass with. And a big group of custodians that I think everybody did about 20 of them. And do a fabulous job taking care of our buildings. Our buildings need a little more love than others. They've been able to send some of them on some TV training and stuff that we've never been able great feedback from those trainings, and I'm back excited. Very appreciative. Good. Next is just kind of an overview of, since July, we've had 782 workers. Wow. The last there is just kind of where we're at, our high school. It's building, yes, so it's probably our native building. It's also got probably more age on than some of our other buildings.
Yes, it is.
Staffing. We got our one electric supervisor, Steve. One electrician is myself.
Yeah.
Three maintenance workers.
You counted 2 columns there, huh?
It is, it's, you know, like I say, guys, they're stepping up, they're doing a lot of learning. They kind of step up into the electrician role one day.
Do you ever get caught up?
Heating and air wise, yes, we get in a good place. Work order wise, there's always plenty to do. We get breathing room, maintaining the equipment.
Do you have to prioritize?
Absolutely.
Make some people mad because it takes longer to get there.
It is, that's great.
Yes.
He's been kind of on the tail end. Our building officers, they don't see us, but we're classrooms see us. We're in a lot better place. The ice storm really hurt us. It's tough. We had all the snow and ice, so it's a bunch of time attention to the snow and ice. And that started coming back to the building. The influence in there, it dropped.
Did you have any trouble with plumbing during the cold weather? Nothing froze?
Not plumbing.
Better knock on wood.
Yes, okay.
Is it possible that the guys that are training can they get certified in that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm hoping that a couple of them will. It would be their benefit.
So then that would mean like maybe the 2 electricians, the need for the 2 electricians would turn into 2 maintenance workers. Is there anything we could do to help that process?
I mean, I've got the support of Steve and Dr. Proctor. Every chance I get, I send them to different trainings and
Okay, good.
updates and stuff. It's really up to them as to how far they want to go. We're in a brand new world right now where we've got administration that is looking to reward and the guys are getting educated. Expressly to them.
That's good.
They've got a home to go home to at the end of the day.
It would work out good, like if they needed computer, instead of everybody doing it from home, maybe at Hillview after hours, if they needed a couple of hours or whatever. I mean, it's just something to throw into the mix, you know.
Moving forward, so some of the equipment that we've got, three trucks with plows, 2 of them trucks, one of them has over 300,000 miles on them, and one of them near 300,000. We've got 2 decade salt spreaders, again, they They hold about 300 pounds of salt. And they do it. It's been a big help. It's safer. Was able to chisel the ice off the blacktop.
But your baby, isn't it?
It's not a new machine, I don't make, but it's new to us.
Yeah.
Some equipment needs in the coming future. Like I say, one of our plows is it's an older plow. It's seeing the end of its life. So replacing it and old plow is something we need to look at in the near future. I had wanted to do 2-yard salt spreaders. Sits at the bed of the truck, you can load them with tractor motor and pump salt, which save us a bit of money and be a lot quicker on salting our lots. Trucks, our trucks with lots of miles on them.
Yeah.
We actually got one sitting in the shop right now with that transmission. Just miscellaneous tools, heating there to all handles. Plumbing, that progress is a big thing now. And a lot of progress is going on. With trailers, on our list of needs to haul the skids with. And then if you want to switch to attachments,
Like what?
post augers. We're currently
Oh, so that's what I was thinking.
running one in. On the back of the tractor. Was able to buy a file attachment for it. Range attachment. Fire rent, grammar, that's up to 5 3. And all that can come in time.
Yeah.
That's all we like.
It's the mini X. Yeah.
Yes, but
Oh,
as far as plumbing goes, we rented one and borrowed one. It's a very handy piece of equipment.
Yeah. It's like a mini backhoe, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's on
thought so.
racks. We used one, we did sort of right on the field side.
Yep. I didn't get to drive that one.
Yeah. We've added pallet racking, and that is really freed up some floor space for us. We've added some lighting. We've had to purchase the old state highway garage. The lighting is really inadequate. Really a dark, empty place. We've added some lighting. We've got more lighting that we need to add. Really bright for the kids to go. We use a couple of garage doors on the building. One broke. We got to replace it, but we replaced it, was about $10,000.
Hmm.
So it's $9 insulated gold. We've got 2 more that needs to be replaced. One of those patched together, we've got 3 different doors. Drainage is full of fire. That's got a branch down the center of it, where it was a state highway garage that was able to bring the truck in, wash the salt off of it, no matter what the weather.
Yeah.
We're working outside, but there's that trench drain here, it's got some chip concrete around it, which needs to be repaired. And the drain pipes that are dead in somewhere out in the parking lot. trying. Gravity now eventually, that's up in my field. Payment for bus maintenance compound is a pretty big priority. Storage shed on the building to unnecessary items out of the building, but still keep them under the roof.
Enclosed or?
Roof and sides, they don't, it's be like a pretty sided between two
Right.
shades. What I kind of would say would be a place or tractor, plow,
Your equipment.
trailer.
Yep.
The excavator,
Yes.
everything that doesn't really need to be inside the shop. That really frees up the shop for that way. Keep the trucks inside, keep plowing along as we can. And then improve repairs, training. Not real high, the paint's not real high on the priority list, but it's the first building you pull into the lot and see. Those pretty buildings we've got.
You got it all itemized out? Yeah.
So Tim, I will tell you that you lead a department that you hear the word thankless and it gets used too much, but you all have thankless jobs. And unfortunately, just reality maybe is, a lot of times you don't hear from folks until they're upset, and you handle it with grace and you do the job and lead your department with pride. And I can assure you that's noticed. Greg has remembered a statement, and he probably will never let me live it down. We can afford anything. We can't afford everything. And I can assure you in front of this board that we'll look at this list and we'll tackle everything that we humanly can in next year's budget cycle. Tim and I've already shared with the board about the trucks. We've got some fleet needs that are pressing, very pressing, that we're going to have to look at. But other than that, we will continue to chip away. So I can assure you of that part. So questions for Tim or for me or?
It's like you said, the justification for the renovations we're doing to the elementary and the middle school is that it's our duty to keep it in working order, so it's good for another 30 years. And that needs to apply as well to the support staff that keeps everything running. So I agree, we need to look and see what we can manage. I know somebody who's usually pretty good at finding a good price on some of these things.
He's pretty frugal. Pretty frugal.
Well, Tim, I hear great things about you and your leadership, and we appreciate you. It is. Oh, I hear it, yeah.
Thankless job.
Yeah.
I do everything I can for anybody I can. No matter what kind of
Yeah. Well, I think it's going notice.
Well,
The staff has saved us a lot of money.
Well, I'm glad that teed me up perfectly. The project that we're doing next door with the cafeteria, Tim and his team literally might have a week that they can work on it, can't work on it for 4 or 5 weeks, but, they got us to a point and probably saved that project 50% when it's all said and done. And that's going to repurpose a building that we didn't have to tear down. We didn't have to build something new, and it will be nice when it's done.
And the same goes for this building
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Huge.
Yep.
You crushed it. Good deal. Appreciate you, sir.
It's nice when you're.
It does make it nice. All right, next up, we have Miss Leslie Slaughter, who joined us in July from JCPS. We always hear we lose people to JCPS, but we actually stole one back. So she is in her role as Director of Transition Workforce and Innovation. If you guys remember, I came to you guys and asked you to kind of redefine her role. That role had kind of focused on college and career pieces, but felt like we need to expand it a little bit, and she's growing into that quickly. So I know you guys had an update last year about college and career stuff. So we wanted to kind of share with you the work she's doing and leading, but also an update of college and career stuff, but a lot of other things you'll see here as well. So Ms. Slaughter, thank you. You ready to roll?
So I'm honored to be here tonight with you guys, share a little bit about the work that's ongoing. Some of that is a continuation of things that have been in place for a very long time, and some of it's new and exciting. So we'll just kind of dig in. So in terms of college and career readiness updates, or what we call CCR specifically, I just wanted to let you know some strategies that are very intentional that we have in place to kind of really hone in on that work in a meaningful way. So the first is our college and career readiness Google site. So this is kind of a one-stop shop for our students and parents. It is a plethora of information. So great landing place for kids to go to learn more about post-secondary opportunities, AP, pathways, that kind of stuff. Scholarship opportunities are posted there. I post job opportunities, so when we have co-op and internship opportunities in the region. So kids are still learning, but this is kind of the go-to place where I need to get all that information. I'm kind of finding it's been a little bit of a best kept secret, so I've tried to really push it out there and make it more visible. But lots of great stuff to peruse on there, and I'll hyperlink it for you if you want to look at it in your own time. We do have our advisory schedule at the high school, which I think has a huge benefit in terms of being able to do things like college and career advisory visits. So we utilize that time on a monthly schedule to bring in post-secondary partners as well as business and industry partners to meet with students in small groups. So that Google site has a tab specifically for post-secondary events and info, and there's a Google Calendar on there. And so I'll go in and kind of update when someone wants to come in and meet with students. The student needs to register for those things, and then I can pull them during advisory for those small group visits. So that's a really fruitful way for kids to be able to have more meaningful one-on-one conversations with those folks and ask questions that maybe they couldn't in a larger group setting. So we think that is really, really great work that's ongoing.
Leslie? Yes. Do parents have access to the site too? Just
They can see the calendar, yes, so they'll know what's out there. You can peruse any month. Obviously, February has felt a little bigger, but the fall was really busy, and then March is kind of kicking back into full swing. So yeah, you can see anyone that's kind of signed up.
Thank you.
With our kids. We've always had great success with our college and career fairs. So our fall college fair had over 40 institutions that and all juniors and seniors got to experience that. And then our career fair is actually coming up on April 16th, and the information about that just went out to our partners last week. We already had about 12 signed up, so I look for that to be another great event. We target our senior parents through a FAFSA night, so that's a way for us to bring in our representatives and for parents to be able to come in and ask the really real and raw questions about the FAFSA completion, which can feel a little overwhelming at times. So we try to provide like real time support to our parents and our students that are going through that process, which is a really important one to their post-secondary journey and that they're coming in. We have started a partnership with the Area Technology Center in Shelbyville the last several years, and we take the entire 8th grade class over to see all of the programs in that building. Again, another best kept secret, I think, for some of our kiddos. So it's great for every single 8th grader to get to see that and make an informed decision about whether that might be something they want to do in high school. For most of them, that experience can't start in the 9th grade. Most of those programs are 10th through 12th grade. So it's good for them to still know going into the high school years that those are available to them. And then we do take a select group of 9th graders back if maybe they wanted to follow up. You all are well aware of the ILP, which is the individual learning plan. That's a process that starts in the 6th grade for every student. We utilize Zello as the platform for that. And it's actually a pretty comprehensive platform. Nothing I've ever seen is perfect, but I like the way it's designed, the just like house things there, so that when it's time junior and senior year to start building a resume, it's all there in one place. We have started some very additional work, I got here this fall to look at our pathways at the high school and specifically look at the course sequences we are offering. Are we offering the right courses within that pathway that best support the standards that are aligned to the industry certifications and the end of program assessment? And luckily, in most cases, we were pretty well aligned. We've made a few tweaks for next year, but that really helped us to assure that we were on the right track there. And we're constantly looking into data around performance of industry certs, of our end of program assessments to kind of look at ways that we can improve from a curriculum and assessment standpoint. And then lastly, I'll mention the name and need protocol is something that's very intentional. We meet monthly. So Mr. Phillips and I meet with the counseling team, the admin team, our instructional coach, and we literally name and claim students from our senior cohort. We have a spreadsheet. We know exactly where they are in terms of meeting benchmarks on both college and career readiness initiatives. And then we have a watch list. So I can tell you right now, we are at 91% of our senior class of 2025 already demonstrating some form of post-secondary education. So post-secondary readiness. They've met at least one benchmark that we're looking for on either the academic or the career side. So we're really excited about that. But we still have about 25 seniors that aren't there yet. And so we're working very intensely with those students to kind of help meet their needs. So that is a very intentional process that we're proud of. At the middle school level, I can't say enough about what's happening with the Max Lab. You all have heard about it. Some of you have seen it. It's just incredible. And it's like, it just makes my heart happy to see kids get to really have some of these hands-on experiences. I think for years we've done a great job of thinking about the ILP and then bringing in guest speakers and folks into classrooms. But for the first time ever, these kids are actually getting to bring that learning to life in a very meaningful way. Those modules run about 10 days each, so it's just enough time for them to practice with a partner, do some research, investigate vocabulary, reflect, and then decide if it's something they like or don't like. And that's the ultimate goal at this age and stage. It's like, do I like it or do I not? And that's, I always say we help kids figure out something they don't want to do just as much as what they do want to do, then we've done our job. So the Pax Lab is definitely accomplishing that, and I often tell people, even in my own home, it's transformed the dinner table conversations because I have made greater impact to students the last semester. So we're also doing a lot of pathway recruitment and advising. So actually what was supposed to occur last week, but Mother Nature had other plans, is happening this week around our career pathways day. So on Wednesday, every 8th grader will come over to the high school and get to tour our facility, get to see our CTE classrooms and labs, get to talk to kids in those classrooms, and see what a day in the life of culinary arts or whatever it may be looks like. They will also get to hear about opportunities in the visual and performing arts. They'll hear about athletics opportunities. So it's really a great chance for them to really see what the culture at SB is like. On Thursday, we'll have a parent night for those incoming ninth graders, and that's all hands on deck, really high school 101 kind of presentation. And the building is open for them to tour and talk to teachers and learn more. And then we'll actually do advising and scheduling with them on the 5th and the 6th. So the show goes on, even though it's a little delayed. So in terms of post-secondary readiness, I think I just want to remind you, when we talk about accountability around post-secondary readiness, these are some of the indicators we're specifically measuring. So we share this with students and parents to help them understand when we say a student is either college or career ready or academic and career ready, we're looking for on the academic side, on college placement exams like the ACT, et cetera. We're looking for a senior hire in a dual credit course, 30 credit hours in one course, or we're looking at a score or a 3 or better on an AP exam, for example. On the career side, there's a number of ways the students can demonstrate they're ready. They can meet a benchmark on those end of program assessments that are actually offered by KDE that are aligned to their pathways. They can receive an industry recognized certification or credential. They could also achieve a senior hire in a CTE dual credit course. They could also do registered apprenticeship opportunities. We are not currently doing that, but you'll hear in a minute that that is a goal that I have for us to consider moving forward. And then we also have a fairly new indicator in the accountability system around work-based learning. So looking at benefits aligned to a high demand here. So, how are we doing on all the things? I thought I took this snapshot. There's actually a whole lot to digest on this slide, so I'll try to break it down a little bit. In terms of our college and career readiness rates, there is a lot to celebrate here, friends. Like when we look at where we were in 21-22, we were hovering around a 79% college and career readiness rate for our senior class. And by the time we've received our data from last year, we were at 92.4. Now you see there's mention of a bonus there. The accountability system takes into account some of our industry recognized certifications and credentials have a high demand weight on them. So the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board reviews that list quarterly. And there are times when they say, this particular certification is really a high demand need for us in Kentucky right now. So any of those certifications that have that high demand status get a little bump. They get like a bonus. It's a 0.25 bonus in the calculation. So actually, we were at 98.3% with the bonus this year, which is incredible. And I think that we'll have more bonus points this year than we did last year, just because the list has even more certifications we're offering. So it's pretty good to look at. And there's a lot to be done.
What are some of the current bonus certifications?
A lot of healthcare certifications, welding, like and then CCPR, skilled trades. There's some in IT. Yeah, the valid list is out on the website and it's on our CCR Google site. So I'd be happy to share that with you. But again, it does change so that the KWIB looks at that. So that's the beauty of it. As the labor market needs change, they can also update that list.
So healthcare's probably been there for a while, probably going to stay for a while, I
But a few
imagine.
of the ones that we were offering were not labeled high demand.
Oh, wow.
They just were recently signaled high demand. So we're
Okay.
really excited about that because that's
good to know.
We know we're offering some well-aligned certifications. So, on the academic side, I just wanted to share like some average composites for the ACT. So we've hovered around that 18 mark and we've fluctuated just a little there over the last 3 years. When we look at those college readiness exam percentages, at least meeting one benchmark, meeting either English, reading, or math. So just as long as we're meeting at least one of those benchmarks, you can see that the numbers have grown from about 61% to 67% last year. Our dual credit numbers are really incredible. I'm proud of that. And you'll see that from 21 to 22, we took a really nice jump. We started offering more dual credit courses to our students. So we had more students enrolled and we actually had more qualifying scores. That means they got that C, that letter grade of C or higher. The state does not recognize it in accountability if the student did not get a C or higher in the course. So then we grew exponentially to 22, 23, but then lost a couple of teachers who were adjunct professors after 22, 23. So that is why our numbers went back down a little bit in enrollment, but we're growing in both those offerings, and I think that number's going to be
Awesome.
this year. So, and then our AP, that's again another bright spot, going from 122 students enrolled and 55 scores of a 3 higher on the assessment to 228 13 scores of a 3 or higher.
That's huge.
Yes. Really.
Wow.
Yeah. And as you may remember in the fall, recognizing the number of students who actually passed multiple exams, that's 3 or higher. So that number is growing. On the career side, just wanted to show you enrollment trends. So, we're really proud to say that about 3 out of every 4 high school kids at SCHS are touched. That's pretty cool. Not all of them completed, but to know that they've explored, they've tried something, they're leaving with some transferable skills, like that's pretty important. So roughly 770 students last year, and about 76% of the overall population in a pathway. Look at the industry survey, you all. So we've gone from 7% in 21, 22 of our seniors earning a valid industry certification to almost 40%. And again, I think that number's going to grow. We actually have a new industry cert that we're offering for the first time this year in agriculture. And we're the only one in the state offering it. We're the first to kind of pilot it. And we are seeing really good success rate on that. So I think this number will be better in a few months. And then our EOPs, which again are the end of program assessments, again, rate growth, 17% passage rate is about 400%. Wanted to update you quickly on other initiatives we have going on. So we were fortunate to be don't really have a post-secondary plan at the time. Do not plan to go to pursue any type of college or post-secondary education training. So it's really supporting them and helping them find like high-wage employment opportunities. So we have a senior cohort of about 40 students that we're working with. We received $90,000. The work got a little late to kick off because of the timelines of when the actual initiative rolled out. But we're really excited. We've got some great things planned for the spring around industry tours, taking some of those students on field trips, we're paying for some co-ops and internships out of that hopefully will lead to full-time employment after graduation. And then I'm really excited about the actual staff support that after can provide to students at both the high school and Hillview, some mentoring, lots of ILP and advising kinds of work. So, yeah, more to come on this. We'll be a part of the cohort next year as well. So, I think it's really important in this role of mine to focus on partnership engagement. We cannot do this work alone, and we cannot think about college and career readiness and professional work in isolation, workforce development. So, I big passion for ensuring that I'm engaging as much as possible with Chambers of Commerce, the Economic Development Foundation that was recently developed. I also know that this work has to be regional in nature. You know, we don't have a lot of industry here. You know, there's a good percentage of our working population that sits in their car and drives somewhere else to go to work every day. So it's important for us to also be a part of the regional workforce strategy. So Shelby County's been wonderful for us. I'm involved with their chamber, their industrial foundation. I go to HR association meetings when I can. Again, the HBC is there, so that's a great partnership. I don't know what to say about the work that they're doing to transform experiences for our students, but I think it's really important that we continue to think about how they can support our advising, our transition efforts. And then our CTE advisory committee. So every pathway at the high school has an advisory committee of business and industry leaders, post-secondary partners, community partners, and parents. And they meet twice a year to review and continually improve their programs. And so their feedback is instrumental, I think, in us continuing to ensure. We've also taken a look at policy this year and identified where we've got some low-hanging fruit, where we have some areas we need to maybe tighten up roles, responsibilities, expectations. We've got a new work-based learning guide coming down the pipe that will, I think, streamline some of those expectations for our students. SBDM just approved a new co-op policy for us for next year, so I'll be training students on that. And then we actually found that we were a little out of alignment with some of our GPA weighting and scale at the high school. And in order to align with state statute, we had some policy changes there with SBDM. So, I do manage all of the funding for CTE, so federal purchase accountability and the funding for that, as well as our new the state supplemental funding, which has been a game changer in helping our teachers transform their classrooms and their labs, modernize equipment and technology, provide experiences, and have tools for the first time that maybe they didn't have funds to pay for before. So that's been incredible. And I want to really give Dr. Foster kudos there. He's very passionate about, what is the story we'll be able to tell about the impact of those funds. And that's really how I kind of shape the conversation with those teachers when they think about their budget for the year. What kinds of things do we truly know we need, but what's going to have that lasting impact? What will we have to show for it still in 5, 6, 7 years? I also think it's really important for us to tell our stories, all of us in our own respective departments. But in my world, I started with work-based learning spotlights this year. We put those out on social media. So when I see employers that are engaging with our students and doing really incredible things, I think it's important to celebrate that. So we started trying to do some co-op and internship shout outs. We also had a commissioner who visited in November, and we were spotlighted in the KE newsletter for the Office of Career and Technical Education. So we tried to flip that as much as possible. And then WLKY came up with a story so the more we can do that and talk about great things happening here. Leadership development. So we created an ambassador program, and to no surprise, one of your folks at this table is a part of that and experiencing that for the first time. I want to thank Mr. Phillips for embracing that idea when I took it to him. So I meet with this group monthly. They are HR collection of students that represent every CTE program in the building, arts and humanities, visual performing arts, athletics, and they are just the highlight of the month, if I'm being honest. They are so brilliantly smart. They have such great ideas about ways to be leaders in their community. They're going to lead almost all the 8th grade orientation and recruitment stuff this week, which is kind of fun to turn that over to them. I've already started a conversation with the local chamber about next year creating what we would call like a leadership Spencer program, where they would come in and work with our ambassadors in the high school to do trainings, soft skill development, help them better understand the community at large, be involved citizens in what's going on around our community. What's to come? Over the next year, we're going to grow our packet opportunities. You've heard about BOE. So our business program has seen a complete overhaul. We're moving those packets to more of a marketing and financial services focus. And with that are going to come some cool school-based enterprises. So we'll get to run a student bank. We'll get to have a school store. So lots of entrepreneurial things that will come out of that. You all approved it last month for the We Lead CS partnership. So this is the virtual computer science academy. We're going to have packets for the first time in computer programming and network and cybersecurity for students. Super excited about that. And we're also partnering with to look at an EMT pilot for next year for up to 12 of our seniors who want to pursue EMT.
That's awesome.
So there's some good models of that around the school. Again, cleaning up some of our goals around work-based learning. When I say work-based learning, a lot of times people immediately just think that's high school, maybe co-op, internship, that kind of stuff. I think people fail to think about like the lower grades and what they do around shadowing, mentoring, school-based enterprises, those kind of things. My goal over the next year is to kind of create some norms and expectations around what those kinds of experiential learning opportunities could look like in elementary and middle. Really bring some more cohesion to that. I want to explore registered apprenticeship opportunities in all of our schools. And then again, we're cleaning up some of our protocols around high school work-based learning and the new co-op. Next 1 to 3 years, because I'm a long-range thinker too, so I just want you all to kind of see where things are in terms of conversations about our strategic plans in district. Most of this aligns beautifully to it. So obviously, career exploration at all grade levels is a priority. We have been really thrilled again with the PACS Lab model, and so looking at that at Hillview as well as both elementaries. They do have upper elementary modules for 4th and 5th grade, so we're exploring what that could look like. Financial literacy, we're doing some great work there, but I think there are some opportunities for improvement to really make that. The local planning committee, as Dr. Silver knows, has expressed an interest in the CTE center. And so if we're going to make that a reality, there's a whole lot of work that has to happen over the next 1 to 3 years. We need to do some model site visits. We need to think about pathway expansion and what we can afford to do or what the labor market maybe is demanding us to think about. We need to engage employers and some of our regional partners, and we need to think about funding opportunities. The SFCC is the School Facilities Construction Commission. They do have funding each year for career and technical centers, so I have begun exploring what the application process for that looks like. And then lastly, just thinking about metrics and how we hold ourselves accountable for successful transition at all grade levels of our students. So again, we think about that transition to life after high school a lot, but what does entry to pre-K really look like, and how do we measure that in a meaningful way? What does kindergarten readiness really mean to us? What does that 5th to 6th grade transition really mean? 8th to 9th grade transition? What does it mean at each grade level in high school to know that you're on track for high school graduation? PSR indicators that we're already measuring, and then what's really important to me, and it's not always a popular opinion among some district leaders, is post-high school outcomes. Really looking at our longitudinal data and being real about where our kids are, what they're doing, what they're accomplishing, where they're working, and helping use that data to inform how we do better at what we do while we help them.
This board has talked a lot over the years about the post-high school outcomes, because that means a lot when you're looking at what you're doing, how successful is it? Right. And What do you do in your spare time?
Well, no.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? That was thorough. That was
Well,
great.
it's an honor to be here to be doing this work, and I'm grateful to be here tonight. So, you all know where to find me.
We are
Thank
happy
you.
to have you.
Thank you, Leslie. We appreciate it. Very informative.
Makes me think of you.
Yeah.
It does.
All right, item E, this is a quick overview of just where we are with the calendar. I know at the grocery store, post office, probably the number one question is, it's probably A and B. When's the last day of school? When's graduation? I'm going to bet you've been asked that. So let me just kind of give you an overview of where we are. So our original last day for students was May 16th, with our closing day for staff being May 19th. So that's obviously no longer the case. We've had 4 traditional snow days, meaning they have to be made up. So we took 2 January 7th and January 8th. Those were because of snow. Then we took 2 additional on February 6th and February 7th. Those were due to flu. So those 4 days will have to be put at the end of the calendar. The only other options we had would be the day before, the day after spring break. I just don't think that's a wise choice to do to our staff nor our community. We do know our current calendar listed May 20th as election day, and there is no election, no primary election in 2025. So that can be used as a makeup day. We have 8 NTI days. To be candid with you, that's more than I ever felt comfortable with. But it has been an extreme year. So out of my 26 years, I've not had a year like this one. It's been very, very different. We've used 1 2-hour delay. In our calendar, we have about 14 emergency hours. And so that means we've only used 2 of those 14. So all of that being said, kind of where the dust sets today, and I put in bold and italics as of February 24th, because this could change tomorrow, right? Like the weather in Kentucky. Our current last day for students would be Thursday, May 22nd, because we can use that Tuesday that was noted as election day, and our current closing day for staff would be Friday, May 23rd. But in fairness to the board, in fairness to Mr. Phillips, in fairness to our high school seniors, typically what happens in the month of March, Ms. Binion is the first line of defense with Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center, and they're wonderful. They're very gracious to all 6 counties that use their facilities. Obviously, JCPS has a lot of weight because they have so many events. But we will start working with them in early March, and we'll start looking at dates and time options. Legally, to be a formal graduation and hand a student their diploma, it has to be after the last day of school. You can do a ceremony, but you can't grant diplomas until after the last day of school. So that's something I don't think Spencer County's ever looked at doing it before then. So obviously graduation would at least be Thursday, May 22nd or later. So that's the answer we can all give in the grocery store, post office right now to give everybody, say like, hey, let us breathe. Like it just snowed yesterday. So our goal, just like it's been in the past few years, is to bring the board graduation ceremony location, date, and time for approval during our regular March meeting. And we would also do our final calendar revision at the same time. So that's kind of where we are. Man, has it been a winter. That's about all I can say at this point. Any questions on that? Concerns maybe that you guys have heard from constituents? Emma, anything? We will get you graduated. How's it? Get you graduated. Duly noted. We'll get you through. All right. The other item I have, we could take forever on this one, but I wanted to walk the board through. I know you have been questioned about attendance and specifically parent notes and sick notes. Probably more so than the last day of school, if I'm being honest, because in addition to winter weather, it has been a very sickly second semester, both for our staff, our students, and our community as a whole. So if you turn there to the 3rd page to kind of pick up, Mr. Rucker shared with you guys in November of 23 a real quick conversation about the use of parent notes and really kind of getting the chance to look at some of the conversations I've had over the last few weeks. I want to make sure that folks understand that this is part of a much bigger puzzle, that we can focus in on parent notes and sick notes, but attendance as a whole, we need to kind of understand there's a lot of moving parts to it. On that evening, back in November of 23, he shared with you just some formative data about us and surrounding counties. How many parent notes does Spencer allow compared to Jefferson, Shelby, Anderson, Franklin is independent, Nelson, Bardstown independent, and Bullitt. You can see Spencer County, factually speaking, is on the stricter end of parent notes. We're not the strictest. If you look at Nelson County, they do something that I've never seen. They actually separate parent notes by grade level. So K-5 gets 4 per semester, and 6-12 gets 2 per semester. So they would be the strictest. There is one other district that only allows 5, which is Franklin County, and then Bullitt only does 6, and a couple that do 10. So you can see if that were kind of a spectrum. We're not the strictest, but we are toward the stricter end of that. Turning to the next page, this is the part that I do want to highlight as I've talked to a couple of individuals. The sick note, parent note question, I think typically is perceived to be its own policy, that it is a policy and it stands alone and this board graces that one way or the other. It is part of a very lengthy 4-page policy, and it is embedded in a portion called excused absences. So you can see there over 2 pages, there's about 11 things that allow an excused absence for a Spencer County student. Number 2 is probably the most frequently asked question or the most frequently discussed portion, which is, as a parent, how many days can I excuse my child? So right now, again, that's where our 5 comes from. And it does note that 1 absence equals 1 day or event. All absences require a parent note or a doctor's note. So one of the things that I heard recently is every time my child's sick, I have to go to the doctor. That's not necessarily true until number 6. And so, that was a conversation we have. But when you look at number 2, or the concept of parent notes, it is included with things like a death, religious holidays, state fair, military leave. We're very gracious on military leave, as we should be, but there's multiple ways to excuse attendance issues around military parents and guardians specifically. One, we actually could allow a student to go to basic training for a United States Armed Force. I'd never seen that before until I got to Spencer County. Next, students participating as a page in the General Assembly. And then number 11 are some things that principals have at their discretion, which is important for us to know. So as folks in our community, I think, have been a little frustrated with sick notes or parent notes and the amount of flu and COVID we've had, strep to go along with that. I don't think they're complaining to complain. I think they've had legitimate issues with their child, and it's tough. I think kind of stopping there, one of the things that I want to really highlight, the truancy process is not about being punitive. It is about communicating with the family, knowing what's going on with the child, and for you guys as a board to know we're not sending families to court on their 6th absence. That's just not happening. They might get that first letter then, but that's truly to be kind of a wake-up call, if you will, to kind of work together. But it is a process. But if you turn to the next page, this for me, to be honest, as superintendent here, was kind of the first time really to be forced for us to say, let's look at a policy. And if we're going to look at a policy, why would we do it? And so, these things these are my list. There's nothing, this didn't come from KSBA, but why would we even change or look at changing an existing policy? Legal or regulatory changes, we get listed those every year. Those are kind of no-brainers, things that we have to do. If something we're currently doing doesn't align with the district mission or our strategic plan, effectiveness on impact on student achievement. And obviously attendance could very much be one of those things. Operational efficiency. So if it makes it harder to operate our district, is it equitable and inclusive? Are there stakeholder concerns? So right now, that's kind of where we are. We have a policy that has folks frustrated, and that's fair. Best practices and emerging trends. Basically, is there a way to do something better? Do we have a policy that's dated and just needs to be updated? Fiscal responsibility. Can we save money, or can we be better stewards of the taxpayers' money? And then finally, safety and security. And there's probably some there that could be listed. But when you look at that list, I think if we're asked as a board, or me to recommend to the board change of policy, I think we need to kind of say, well, which one of these buttons does it push? And it really probably ought to be something that maybe pushes a button or 2, if we're being honest. And then lastly, if we should keep or maintain a policy. So compliance, alignment with district priorities, demonstrated effectiveness with student achievement, consistency and stability, overall feasibility, risk mitigation, community and stakeholder support. So, I put that list together, and maybe it's something we can lean on in the future as we look at policies in total. But right now, we're looking through the lens of parent notes. And so I get it. If you turn the page, I referenced the website there, and it's linked for you on the attachment electronically. But one of the things that I will tell you is a principle that I never thought of until roughly COVID, as KDE started to look at the concept of chronic absenteeism. And so I think there's really two parts that we need to address with parent notes. I think we can obviously look at maybe something that's common sense and helps families that doesn't really hurt the district, but I think there's things we can also do as the district in regards to policies and procedures that might look at the concept of chronic absenteeism. So KDE defines chronic absenteeism as basically if a kid misses more than 10% of school. That includes not only unexcused, but excused absences. So field trips and things like that. So when you look at that, and the best, I'm a visual guy. So if Miss Binion scrolls up to that calendar, when you think about a student, for us, we have 107, look down further, Miss Binion, I'm sorry, right there. We have a 170-day calendar. So if a student misses in Spencer County 17 days of school, they're chronically absent. And it's possible most of those could be excused. And so I think this is a good chance for us to tighten up things like parent notes and look at that and help if we can. But also to look at things maybe like field trips or other reasons where students are out of school. And, that's something I can tell you our team can do a better job of. So I think it's one we have to look at holistically. I don't want to look at it only through the lens of parent notes because I do think it's part of a bigger thing.
I do want to ask, the KDE considers a field trip that is supporting the standards that those students are studying that year?
It is considered an excused absence. That is correct. So it doesn't work against a child, but it is considered an excused absence.
Well, it works
Yeah.
against those,
So-
it works against those statistics,
Yes.
though.
So, I guess if you use your hand and said the narrow focused on just 5 parent note things, like, yes, that might be something we need to address, but I think we need to look at the whole picture and probably can improve across the board. So what I wanted to share with you all tonight was just that information and really what are the options for you moving forward. So typically we do policy revision in June and July. I think this is one we need to look at those 2 policies and I need to bring a recommendation to the board. And also probably take a deeper look at the impact of attendance on truancy. I think that's right now, I think perception and reality don't jive. If someone gets a letter from us, they're not in truancy court. That's probably step 1 of multiple steps. That letter is meant to be informative to parents, to make sure parents know, to make sure that we're not, putting enough value on attendance and showing up every day. And so we can bring you that data. Our truancy percentages are pretty low. And then from there, any requests that the board may have that you want me to look into or any questions you have that you want answered, we can go at it from there. But I hope this information maybe helps you a little bit. Our 2 policies that are affected are 9122. So the first one kind of looks at what is required about being in school in Kentucky, compulsory attendance, statements, exceptions for presence at school, some different things that we work. And then the second policy, which is 9123, that's where you get into truancy and excused absences and how those are defined. And so, again, that's a big picture. That's 2 pretty lengthy policies, and there's a lot to both of them. So
I would like us to look, you to look into what that complaints actually are. That what I have heard, and I've had several say this, that they feel like they have to take their child to the doctor because they still have the rest of the year ahead of them. And as one person said, that's a $35 payment. And there's a stomach bug going around, and it's not anything they're going to do about it, but I feel like I have to. And then I took my granddaughter to the doctor the other day, and he said he was staying until 8:30 at night because all these people are lined up to get their notes. But one of the biggest concerns was they feel like they're compelled to take them to the doctor. It is costly for them. And a lot of parents would have to take off work, or might have to take off work to get them there. And that time, now, there was discussion tonight, Mr. Rucker brought up the center over here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you figure out
if that's going to work out and if we're going to have something. I think that could be a partial answer to some of the concerns about the number of notes. I mean, when last January and February was really bad, and my oldest granddaughter missed, I believe, 21 days. And we made 5 trips to the little clinic because there wasn't any place here we could take them. And then you had to pay every single time you go. And most of those times, there wasn't anything they could give her.
Sure.
So if we could address that, I think that would be a partial answer to the note thing. Does that make sense?
Makes good sense. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, 'cause I used to. Every time we had to go, and that doesn't count.
You know?
Sure.
You know, if they work thoroughly.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to be getting an, urgent care center here, but that still doesn't address the cost.
Right.
Now, what Mr.
It actually
Rucker-
might be a little worse.
Yes.
Sometimes urgent care,
It's
the
more.
copay is a little higher.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't offset the gas and the time. But if we could get something like that in place, I think that would take a lot of the weight off and a lot of the concern off. And and you might be able to look at, at what you think of compromise about the note thing.
Sure.
But I think the complaints that I got were mostly those were the strongest ones.
Mhm.
And I guess it's the ones that I felt myself, so I understood it. But yes, and I do think that policy needs to be written so it is defined
Yes.
and it's clear
Yes, ma'am.
that what it means. Yeah. Anybody have any?
Two things. One kind of goes along with what you were just talking about. I guess something I'm curious is that an absence is one day and that's one day.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I guess like one thing I'm sitting here thinking about is my child, which is diagnosed with flu. He gets
Mhm.
relay tested at home.
Mhm.
He was home 2 days, so I gotta write 2 notes for that. Like, is that the way? I mean, some of this might be clarifying policy.
Yeah.
But to me, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, he's been sent home by the school nurse on a Thursday morning. That's one note for a 2-day absence if he gets to go back on Monday. So this idea of how long is an absence and what exactly can a note account for? And again, it might be that we have to clarify the policy.
Sure. And I think, so your question, we can definitely get clarified, and I can tell you the interpretation has been it's day for day. If you're out 2 days, it's 2 days. You don't need to write 2 notes, but that's 2 days. So that's been the interpretation, but it does not read that way in the policy, and that can be clarified. And, and I think the other thing right now, especially coming off of COVID, like right now people are erring on the side of staying home, which they should. And I think that is absolutely a reason for us to evaluate the number of days. I think right now my caution would be, as I don't know that we want to go from maybe one of the most restrictive to maybe the most loose, so probably find a compromise of somewhere that's fair to families and probably let that be based on, an average number of, look at each level, elementary students, middle school students, high school students. And our flu event, it hit us much harder in elementary, which is kind of atypical. Typically, I don't know what it is. Typically, our elementary students stay a little healthier. This year, that wasn't the case, and it was rough, really rough.
I think a lot of people do have part of the people didn't like to keep them home.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them home after that. But then others, they can't keep them home. So they go, it's just a constant. So you go from maybe missing a week with the flu and another 3 weeks later, you miss another week.
Yeah.
Southern flu or whatever. I just agree. We just need to look at. There's
Sure.
There's a lot
Yeah.
with this. I even had a suggestion from someone that if you were going to do it, like and an illness,
Mhm.
that it be limited to so many days.
Mhm.
And after that, you needed a
Yeah.
doctor, or something, or add the extras.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think looking at what their actual concerns are
Mhm.
and trying to address that will be a big, and probably as much help as, and it looks like that's what you're already trying to do.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the bottom line, attendance is something that, it's in addition to standards, in addition to reading and writing and math, getting kids to show up is part of what we're teaching them. And it's a balance, I guess might be the fairest word. And we don't want to be adversarial with the families. We don't. But we also, we are kind of held accountable for making sure they're here. And it's, people hate to even hear it out loud. It's how we're funded. That's a reality. We are funded on average daily attendance. And so, it's one of those things. I promise you, if we increase our amount of parent notes, they're going to get used. That's just the reality. They're going to get used. So,
I think one thing I would just like to be able to reflect upon, since we're saying this is probably going to be something in June or July.
Yes, sir.
One piece of data around this that would interest me is a relationship between days absent and progression promotion through school. And the reason why I say this is because, to me, not all absences are created equal. Number one, excused versus unexcused. Like, if we're getting into this and a student going on a field trip is going to be counted as an excused absence, like, that's not the same as somebody who's missing. And now they go on 5 field trips. Those 5 field trips aren't the same as somebody who's missing 5 days of school for the sake of argument, not a very good reason.
Sure.
Right. And so I think just being able to kind of put some numbers to it, or some level of analysis of how much our absence is really costing, right? They could be costing us, but is it also costing students? And I know that can get really tricky, especially I would think down at like the elementary level or something, it could be really tricky to measure how might it be affecting progression or promotion.
Sure.
But I think something along those lines, because otherwise we're speaking all anecdotally, stories we hear either from ourselves or at the grocery store or something like that. So some way to kind of put a little different aspect to it as well.
Yes, sir.
I tried to find research or data on the relationship between attendance and parent notes, or excuse, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
The thing that the only thing they've done, it seems like you get research on, is climate and culture and making school exciting and interesting for kids that want to be there. But I think we're in a little bit different place now, because it just seems like there is more sickness.
Yeah.
It just seems like, and maybe it's not, and you do have it in your handbook, do not come to school if you have been vomiting, have a fever, and have diarrhea in the last 24 hours. So it makes it.
Some day, 1 day, 3 days.
Yes.
I do have a thought on this as well. I guess it sort of bothers me because, we have such a emphasis on mental health and the mental health. And of course, Kentucky is really a low state as far as it goes. But, you go to the doctors and professionals maybe every 2 weeks. So I just want to say this is not seen fair, or maybe certain categories should be kept out, like you're excused, but you have to keep up with that. So you do go every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, or once a month, whatever it is, and that adds up.
Yeah.
Well, as far as we're concerned, though, in our school system, they can have as many doctor
Right, but you're
notes
still counted as-
with the
state, it is what it is. We need to speak to your legislators about that, but as far as we go, they can have as many as they want. But when I was looking, there are districts around that if they have 10 doctor's notes, they have to have, the doctor after that has to fill out some kind of.
Typically, it's called a medical statement.
Yeah,
So it changes from that. So basically, you're being treated for a long-term condition, or there's some extenuating circumstance beyond just an office visit.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So they have to.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have that at this point anyway. It's, if you get a doctor's note, then.
It's a problem.
Yes. Yeah, it is, because it does, well, I'll tell you, I mean, I know that hasn't, as long as the parent or the child remembers to ask for the note, they accept it every time here in the school district.
Okay. Anything else?
We need to,
Nope, I'm good.
anything else we need to add?
Okay.
That was just, big long.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you, Dr. Foster.
All right. No problem. More to come.
Okay, action with discussion.
Miss Butler is here with her favorite time of the year to get our CDIP approved.
I really wanted to point out is that I didn't create a new presentation because it's keeping us last year with Dr. Foster coming through, we did a complete overhaul, all new goals based on our big rocks and some of the sports at that time. Can't really judge how you're doing until you have several years of doing it, right? So we didn't feel like it would make a whole lot of sense to go through the presentation. So the only thing you're going to see on this, you'll see that this last different from last year are going to be just kind of our data of our testing. And then it's been updated to reflect it. Other than that, our goals and our strategies, what we're doing, we felt like we were very strong while we were last year. So we're just going to continue to see those out. So that's why there's not a new presentation or anything, it's the same thing. We have to do this, we have last report.
Okay, this one is an action.
Anybody? Any questions, concerns? Okay, do we have a recommendation, Dr. Foster?
Approve the 2024-25 CDIP as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated? Pam, do I have a second? Tim, all in favor? Unanimous? Move on to consideration of resolution regarding the
Old Ball Field Joint Project with County Fiscal Court and City of Taylorsville. Isn't that a mouthful? So I shared this with the board a few weeks back. And so just to clarify, this is a resolution. Judge Travis asked the city and the school board to do this for strictly the purpose right now of trying to get grant money. So right now, this approval of this would not be that we are committing to this. We're not giving away property. We're not spending money. Basically, we're saying that we want to work together. And I'll read it out loud. And it notes a resolution of the Spencer County Fiscal Court, the Spencer County Board of Education, and the City of Taylorsville agreeing to work together to build a new community park in downtown Taylorsville. Hopefully that would be on our property, which is known as the Old Ball Field, hence the term. Whereas the City of Taylorsville, Spencer County Fiscal Court, Spencer County Board of Education recognize the importance of revitalizing downtown Taylorsville to foster economic growth, improve quality of life, and attract tourism and local businesses. And whereas the proposed community park will serve as a vital resource for residents and visitors by providing recreational opportunities, supporting public events, and enhancing the downtown area's appeal. And whereas the project will include a multifunctional pavilion building, an ADA-compliant playground, and walking path with outdoor exercise stations, basketball courts, pickleball courts, and an amphitheater. And whereas the Spencer County Board of Education owns the land proposed for the park, and all parties agree that a collaborative effort is essential to the successful planning, funding, construction, and operation of this facility. And whereas this project allows with the shared goals of prompting tourism, creating a vibrant downtown and ensuring accessible and inclusive community spaces for all citizens. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Spencer County Fiscal Court, the Spencer County Board of Education, the City of Taylorsville as follows. 1, adoption of plan. The Fiscal Court, Board of Education, and City of Taylorsville formally adopt the plan to build a new community park in downtown Taylorsville as outlined in the project proposal. 2, commitment to collaboration. The 3 entities commit to working together to plan, fund, construct, and manage the community park. This includes sharing responsibilities, resources, and information necessary for the successful completion of the project. Funding the project. Each entity will contribute to the funding and support of the project as their budgets and resources allow. Additional funding will be sought through grants, state and federal assistance, and private partnerships. Timeline and reporting. Fiscal Court, Board of Education, and City of Taylorsville will establish a joint committee to oversee the project, develop a timeline, and provide a regular progress reports to the public. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect upon adoption by each respective entity. By working together, the Spencer County Fiscal Court, Spencer County Board of Education, and City of Taylorsville reaffirm their commitment to improving the lives of citizens and strengthening the community through adoption of this park. So again, this is very much in the planning stages. We had a joint meeting last February in this room, and agreed to kind of start taking next steps forward. That group has met. There's an entity from each branch at the table. They begin to kind of dream in the clouds, and so that kind of then walks us to trying to secure some money. And so I think Judge Travis is very wise in getting this formalized where we could say, we're wanting to do this type of project, and here's proof that we're willing to work together.
Did you have to go into detail about where these meetings were going to be held and because they're going to be considered open records?
Open records and open meetings,
right.
yes.
And who's going to be responsible for retaining that information?
That will be us. So right now we have Mr. Rucker goes, I've been, so we can always make sure that there are meetings and we can actually start putting them on board documents as, written communication. So there's been a little bit of a lull, and I think obviously until we get realistic about money, that makes sense.
So there's no splash pad or, because I know that's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
Yeah, for the smaller kids.
So I know they have went and looked at a couple, and I think they're going to look at another one. So I don't know that anything is formalized and set as of yet. That's where you get into architect drawings and that kind of stuff, and that's where the funding stuff.
Just the thought.
Yeah, it's a great thought.
If we can bring
Yeah. If we could do a splash pad and pickleball, we'd make a lot of residents very happy. So.
I'm only sad that I didn't hear the word children. Children are citizens.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
Yes,
they are citizens. I hope the people doing the grants
Yes.
realize that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, do we have a recommendation?
To approve the resolution as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make the motion as stated.
Tim, do I have a second? Pam, all in favor? Unanimous? Let's move on to executive session. KRS 61.810-1F, discussions which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student.
Yeah, member.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Tim, do I have a second?
I'll second. Go ahead, Pam.
Pam, all in favor? Unanimous?
Any time on that, 6:52.